Hello and welcome back. We are here continuing our Great Qing run in patch 1.7 in Victoria 3. Last episode, we struggled a whole lot with getting up to railroads. I think that this really changes how things are going to work for Qing, because in particular, the manor houses, these ownership buildings, they own the subsistence farms. The subsistence farms, when they are employed up, are owned. These also give infrastructure usage, and so the starting condition we were at was such that we basically had negative infrastructure in a whole bunch of places, and it was a bit of a struggle and a bit of an adjustment relative to 1.6, specifically getting railways. I don't necessarily think that this is a bad thing. This might not be in the fully shipped version, because they might decide that Qing should not have to suffer through this, because the patch will be updated slightly from the build I am currently on versus the live patch, but I thought that this was a bit of an interesting play pattern. We have been having a bit of a time kind of watching and looking at the various ownership buildings as they have been coming on up. I'm keen on figuring out what it is that is the huge driver of which ownership buildings start to get a whole lot of levels. I'm guessing that where you build will tend to slightly be influenced towards this, because there will be people who have a lot of wealth that are like machinists and stuff like this that will be looking to come on up. So for example, we have tried to build, or we are trying to build universities here in Jiangxi, because we want more ownership class pops to be here. And one of the things we're hoping is that the academics that are employed here what? Why is it just clerks and... Oh, okay, so here are the academics. Yeah, so the academics that are employed here, we are hoping that... I thought that I was on the wrong PM. But these guys, they have a really high wage multiplier, quite a bit higher than a clergyman, which is, I suppose, an argument for clerical educators. But we're hoping that these pops maybe are able to reinvest, and maybe they're able to start, these ownership financial districts, still kind of feeling this mechanic out. As far as a macro sense, what are we doing in this run is we are in particular doing a military-industrial complex, and we are wanting to progress towards getting eventually this militarized industry alongside other principles, and we'll be covering this a whole lot more once we gain access to it, but we do not have access to it right now as an unrecognized power, unfortunately. And also, not only that, recognition's harder to get. In order to get recognized, we are going to have to get civilizing mission. And so if we come to earning recognition, we see that we have to research civilizing mission, and so things are a little bit different here. So as far as research goes, which is maybe going to be a slight focus here, we are building like 42 universities currently. We're going to keep expanding that. We're going to go for water tube boiler, and then followed by colonialization, and then maybe we come back for mechanized workshops. But I'm thinking after that we will make a big push in society tech, mainly trying to get closer and closer to civilizing mission. It's not that I think that this is necessarily the most correct thing, but we want to gain access to the new mechanics of power blocks. Yikes. Oh, I guess that is yikes. That's the blockless thing. To be fair, I think that this is a little bit bugged out. It is supposed to be showing visually all the blocks with different colors and different radiating stuff. It is currently not. I think that maybe a little bit of a save and a load will help that out. And some of the UIs are not fully fleshed out yet, but they should be by the time they probably are already fixed on the version that they're updating, but I'm on a slight backlogged version for early access. Anyways, let's get into it as we finish annexing Dainan. We finally get tenant farmers. We tried to get this like 5 or 6 times last episode, which is going to unlock some of the better economic systems like laissez-faire, although we don't need to swap onto that right now. Agrarianism is better in the short term, as well as getting our ability to go for something like proportional taxation. We don't have egalitarianism, so we can't do this yet, and this wouldn't even make us more money, but it would raise SOL, which is currently in the gutter a little bit, because a land-based taxation is very regressive against the peasants. Proportional taxation is much more progressive, and so even though it makes 178k, well, 178k, that's a lot of Ks less. I think we want to change our economy a little bit more and use the money to do construction before going prop tax, but this is something something that we want in the near future, and so this is going to be nice for us. It does give more political strength to the landowners, and this gives less. And does it? Okay, yeah, so it changes some of the stuff on the subsistence farms as well, but overall moving in the right direction. Didn't really want to do homesteading because this requires or creates this modifier plus 50% minimum worker-owned agriculture building levels, which we actually think kind of at this point might be not the best thing, because we want more reinvestment, at least at this point in the game, although we got to figure out a better way to drain this investment pool. Also, the investment pool malice is gone. All investments are multiplied by 1. As far as I can tell, this thing is gone, which makes you can go capitalism, go burr for forever, which is probably what we're going to try and do this episode. But before we can go burr forever, of course, we do need to stop being marginalized. We've been trying to bolster the industrialists. It's a little bit tricky. They're still marginalized. I imagine this is actually going to be kind of hard for us to demarginalize these guys, these cats. They have been moving up for a little while now, but it's still not in the best of shape, kind of stalling out. We're hoping that they buy more buildings and get richer, and etc. We're going to go for colonial resettlement. This is going to cost us a pretty penny, but we are starting to hit the point. We started with 500k unemployment, now we're up to 7.5k. This is a very normal Qing thing, because our pops keep growing, places are getting built over, firing pops from the subsistence rice farms, which hire 10k employees, and stuff like a cotton plantation only hires 5k of those 10k, and so then you have 5k left over for unemployment. And where we want them to resettle is going to be in Peru when we annex them eventually, which is soon. We're also going out of our way to annex everyone who is a second level subject. I forget if it's called puppet or vassal. I think it's vassal for unrecognized powers, because their power will you'll effectively kind of like lose a ranking in terms of when you can annex, when you become recognized. And so this is one of the reasons we've been going out of our way to annex our subjects. But this is maybe a play pattern that's not so strong, because annexing is less important if you could just build in their country, and it's perhaps the case that you should just use infamy to acquire new subjects rather than annex current ones, which is a little bit of a divergence from 1.6. Keen on testing this out, but as far as tech goes, we have some choices here. I think that so egalitarianism is good for the tax law, but we don't quite need it yet. Pharmaceuticals would be good if we could pass anything, but our pops do not support any sort of health system, at least anyone that are powerful, as well as education system do not really support anything. In fact, we need to get the industrialists up and coming. And so I think that what we're going to do is we are going to come in and we do kind of want corporate charters here. Maybe we'll just bank corporate charters. We're not going to have a malice here, so we're going to go corporate charters first for our first company, and then we might even just go for the second company. That's probably pretty solid. But following that, we want to unlock some PMs that are going to use more pops, and I'm thinking that we go mech workshops. Also, canneries will be okay, because the food industries are kind of okay in our situation. When you have a lot of unemployment, the reason food industries are a little bit less efficient is because they use way too many pops. We have way too many pops, and so canneries is actually going to be relatively okay. I still think we go company, but then after this, I think that we can go into mech workshops, and these PMs will also have more engineers, more machinists, which I think are going to be useful for bringing the industrialists on up, at least less so on the machinists, but more so on the engineers, which will tend to support them a little bit. We just need to break them out from being under 5% clout, and then we can start passing some useful laws with them. So I think this will be our overall strategy as far as the tech goes. I just think that the companies are really strong, and also, once we do this though, we're probably going to be off the industrial techs for a little while. I know we don't have nitro or dynamite, but I think that we do want to make this push for civilizing mission once again. So we get a little bit of a petition from the Qing Austrian Fellowship, which this is fantastic. So the way the metagame's been kind of up until now has been that you just kind of make good relations with literally everyone that is a GP, and it's super easy to nurse and this sort of thing. But now we're going to have to pay penalties for doing this, because what they want is they want us to embargo Great Britain. We don't really want to embargo Great Britain. We want to improve relations with Great Britain. However, these guys will get mad if we don't. Their appeasement's currently at -2, which is giving no effects, but we're going to say this is not in our interest. Now it's -7, and now I think that, oh, it's still solid. Okay, we don't have any negative effects yet, but it'll do stuff like giving us a negative, what is it called, legitimacy, and we'll have some effects, but I don't see any effects currently right now. It is affected by laws and some other things that we are doing, but it seems to be that there are a lot more things in place, including how the AI is behaving, that makes it hard to get good relations with literally everyone. You can see we're trying to re-improve relations up with Great Britain. Part of this was the Opium War, the big war we had at the start. They're not damaging relations, so this is somewhat okay. Hopefully we can get them off of belligerent, and the big thing is we need to get under cold in order to do reverse sways against them, and we definitely want to have reverse sways on the UK, so we can get things like what we have on France, which is they're paying us this huge bankroll of 136k, which is really propping up our economy at this point in time and enabling us to just jam this construction, current construction level. Also, game performance does seem to be dramatically improved here. I'm not sure if this is in 1.6, but we do see here a permanent interest-group political strength modifier, which is a little bit of a choice here. Those types of modifiers are really strong permanent modifiers, and I generally think they shouldn't be in the game. And the question is do we want the rural folk to be getting a permanent plus interest-group modifier? And I don't think so. Jaye is, I mean, we're going to exile him. That's unfortunate. We kind of liked him, to be honest, the Democrat here. So can we do something cheeky? I think we can do something cheeky. We'll just do that and hope that he stays. Oh, it looks like it exiles him anyways. Yikes. Alright. Fair enough. We got cheeky with it and we got punished. So we were hoping to keep the guy. We wanted him because he was a Democrat. And randomly spiking him into our agitators was pretty nice. We don't have any agitator invites, and so that is a little bit unfortunate. Appeasement of anti-Japanese society. I think we'll take the legitimacy, though. Hey, guess who broke free? It's Bosnia, son! Also, our lobby's probably going to be a little bit pissed at us. We're not going to let them control our market. We swayed in, just like a regular sway, not even a yo-yo sway, for become subject because the Dutch East Indies revolt was having some problems with Burma, the Netherlands, and the Dutch East Indies. Here we have a little bit of an interesting play where we are going to be upsetting, I assume, one of our lobby groups, the Qing Austrian Fellowship. They're not happy about what's going on right now, I assume, although we're not, it says it's based off of laws, but it should be based off of the fact that we're now opposing in a play Austria, but we couldn't resist the tasty bankroll from France getting renewed. We actually deleted down about 100 construction and looked to pull things back a little bit, although we have a really large investment pool, and so I was hoping that maybe we could clear out our queue and then swap over to non-government construction, and that this would maybe be able to improve things. So if we were to just pause all gov construction, do we keep constructing? Do they keep swimming? It looks like they can take over and handle the entire 7-Eleven, and so maybe we should never have done this thing. But we also tributary Colombia here, hoping to use them to eventually get the Panama Canal. I think that's going to be useful. And then here, we don't have to fight Austria for too long, or at all. We can just, well, I guess we'll just make sure that Touggourt gets occupied for France, and then we'll just capitulate here. I don't think we lose anything. There's no war goals on us or our subjects. And then Austria, we're so sorry. We didn't mean it. Please come back. And can we get a trade agreement? No, we cannot, unfortunately. I think it nuked all of our trade deals, so we'll hopefully have to, or we'll hopefully be able to regain their trust in time. I think maybe we can export this? Not quite yet. We also slotted in a company. We decided to go with just the regular metal company. Kind of, what is this? What is this? This is a mistake on our part. we decided to put in the metal company because we would be using eventually the very, very nice, but currently not slot-inable, Kaiping Mining Company, which is the pride and joy of China. You get it after you get steam donkeys, and it will be railway plus coal mines, and so this will kind of pair nicely. We have another company in mind, and that company we don't have access to yet, but it is a company that is unlocked with a particular ideology, so or not ideology, principle group. So let's see if we can take a quick look at it. I think it's close to the bottom here. It is new, and it is a pretty good tooling workshop or tooling company that's going to be available to everyone, sort of. It's going to be available under conditions. Is it just at the very bottom? No. Although some of the new companies you can see here are at the bottom here. Society Anomaly, John Cockrell. Oh, where is the company? The company, what it does is it gives steel tools and glass, which is pretty good for a tooling company, but you need to have a principal in order to unlock it, so you need to be a part of a particular principal group, which we are, of course, not. I wonder why it's not appearing. Maybe because we are unrecognized? Interesting. Alright, so we've been swaying in a few spots. We got a subject over here in El Salvador, and we also got a subject in Bolivia, but we also noticed something when looking at what the sway numbers are here, which is this having little to lose from enemy war goals mechanic. This is an awesome modifier because this is going to nerf the yo-yo sway. I didn't think they were going to get to it this patch, but this will make it harder to yo-yo sway. Now, 100's not an enormous amount, but it's pretty substantive, so it'll be difficult for us to get... we overcome the 1,000 instantly by being on the other side, and so it's a matter of 172. Can we overcome that with the size of our military? And if the answer is no, then we couldn't yo-yo sway in this direction. And so this is going to be pretty nice for us in terms of... Or it's not going to be nice for us, it's actually going to be bad for us, but it's going to be nice for the realism of the game, because zipping from one side to the other is going to be a little bit less effective now. Still gonna work. So, despite that, we still managed to sway for this little tidbit of land, which is going to be nice for us, extending the border, big long arm, big Peru, except this is Peru, this is Chile. But also, we saved and reloaded the game, we quit the game and reloaded, and now we can take a look at the power blocks without it being all bugged out, and we can see that the Paris Convention is making some headway here. They have USA inside their block, also Venezuela. These are the kind of two notable members. The Russian bloc is just them. Zolverin is up in the north a little bit and doing some of these things. Looks like whatever the UK did, UK maybe reduced autonomy on Hanover kind of early on. You can do this as the player, and it prevents them from swapping over to being free, and so they're just kind of thumbing Prussia's pie here. So Prussia's probably really not going to make progress in the current state of affairs. Also, the AI does seem to be a lot more aggressive about releasing stuff. If I recall correctly, which I often don't, Pomerania starts out as a Prussian state, and so they've been released at some point. We see Bulgaria also get released, and so some of the things that the AI is doing is a lot more aggressive. We're kind of tiptoeing around the AI with a lot of our plays, looking at them really carefully, because a lot of plays, like let's say we're going to declare on Burma or something like this, we can't, no, why can't we? Because now you can declare multiple plays. Okay, so let's say we want to liberate subject on these guys. They're on the British, so we're not going to do this. But we would be fighting Great Britain. But generally speaking, when we've been putting in for going after people, the AI has been pretty aggressive in terms of what it thinks is not acceptable, and has been going against it. I mean, if we were to do this, almost certainly France would join against us because it's part of the power block, I assume. But you also see Ecuador, Nicaragua, and part of the modifier in here, if I recall correctly, reluctant to support a non-allied unrecognized power with significant demands against a recognized power. The fact that we're unrecognized and having to deal with it for an extended period of time is definitely a part of the new mechanics, where we're, going to have to get to civilizing mission to overcome this. But first, we're trying to industrialize, so that's why we're going for mech workshops, which we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. But let's check in on our industrialists. They are 4.2% clout, so they'll be demarginalized pretty soon here. Okay, so looking through this, we're starting to notice a little bit of a pattern regarding ownership that is maybe interesting, which is that the higher pop places, aka the places that have more money and at the start of the game a whole bunch of aristocrats, tend to have some of the higher number of these investment pools. We see Southern Anhui, we see Chongqing. Chongqing doesn't have like the super highest. Hainan is relatively high. It's not super high. These guys aren't super high. But Shandong is not super high either. But Guangdong, see, this is the one that has me a little confused. Why does Guangdong have so many? And maybe it's because they are one of the few that has dyes, but the dyes aren't super profitable. They do have... It's a little bit tough to make a sense of what is driving these two, just kind of based off of feel. Hunan has a lot of pops, but Beijing didn't have a lot of pops, didn't have a lot of levels before. Now they have a lot of levels after we built the universities. And similar with Jiangxi, which implies to me that building the universities has affected this. It's possible something else has affected this, but like them actually having infrastructure now. And so this is a little bit interesting. And if this is the case, then where you build universities, driving slowly your economic changes by, you know, creating pops that have money to be able to purchase things, to be able to pull more economic activity to a place. This makes placing universities way more interesting if this is how this works, or if there's like some sort of causal effect here. So we hit a little bit of an interesting decision point, or something that's interesting to talk about, but we definitely hit decline. And what this is French offering us mutual foreign investment rights. And so I think that in general, this will be kind of something that is useful to you as the player to get with a lot of people. It gives ticking positive relations, and it gives leverage. We haven't talked too much about leverage because we don't have a power block yet, and it's not very important to us at this point because no one can force us into their power block. But what this is going to do is this would make it easier, for example, for us to join their power block. I think that we need to have currently enough leverage to be able to join, and so this would help us to move in that direction so that we could generate leverage, or at least squeeze out the leverage of the other two in regards to what's going on, because we have a ton of leverage, they have a ton of leverage, we each gain leverage, so that's squeezing out the neutral parties. But what this would be in effect for us is we could build in them, they could build in us. However, we don't really want to be able to build in them because they're bankrolling us. And this will eventually cause them to, hey, there we go, declare bankruptcy, which has a rather nasty state construction efficiency modifier. Whenever you're building in another person's country, at least right now, at the time of recording this video, they might change this because this was part of feedback that other early access people have given. It uses the local construction. So if we're looking at the information tab, right? And if we scroll down, we will get a state construction efficiency. So why would we want to exchange for an investment and they can invest in us and actually make decent use of their construction instead of getting this 90% malice? We wouldn't, because it'll be completely asymmetric. Or, well, you know, we get a little bit of money, I guess, or something like this. But if you're a player and you've gone bankrupt, you can still make use of your construction by getting one of these agreements and just investing in someone else's country instead, which is kind of an interesting play pattern. And so it allows you to effectively override your own bankruptcy, kind of. You'll only be getting an ownership class. In general, I still think building in your country is going to be better, except for the purposes of acquisition of leverage. And if we were trying to pull France into our block specifically, we don't have a block, then maybe this would still be worth it because we want to build in their country to be able to gain economic leverage. But for now, we'll click decline. But I did think that was kind of an interesting point to make. And also, this is going to mean that when we are evaluating what to build in other people's countries, we want to pay attention to what companies they have slotted in. And so if we see here, French metal conglomerate, we know that they will be getting 32% company construction bonus. We know that they, for example, are getting 32% on clothing. We don't have a clothing company. They have a clothing company. So perhaps it's worthwhile for us to, you know, build in the other countries the stuff that we don't have, And so this, I think, is going to be a play pattern. Like, so for example, if we pulled Russia into our block, we would want to build wine in their country, right? Not in ours, because we can make use of that, and also clothing in their country, not in ours, and then just import it. And so these new types of play patterns, as a result of foreign investment, are going to be super interesting to tease through. And so we'll see exactly how they shake out. So now we have a different one that is kind of in the same vein. Belgium is offering us just foreign investment in their country. This will improve relations. But how expensive is it to maintain this relationship? So let's take a look and see if we can find, so diplomatic not available, diplomatic actions, and we have request investment rights. We'll see that this is going to cost us 50 investment maintenance. And is this worth it? We'll get ticking positive relations with Belgium. We'll be able to leverage out their country. We're just going to click accept for now, and we're going to try and make some use of this. One key important thing is that, okay, first of all, we're going to check what companies Belgium has before we start investing. So we're going to see that they have the Belgian Minerals Company, and this company, which is absolutely fantastic. But the Belgian Minerals one is going to be the one we're focused on, because we can construct this stuff a little bit faster, and we don't currently have much sulfur. So what we could do is we could actually blast sulfur in their country if we wanted, or blast coal in their country if we wanted, and we will be able to make use of the construction bonus. We currently, well, actually we have a construction bonus for both of these because we also slot in the coal sulfur company, but it could be the case that we just want to blast up like all of their sulfur and then import their sulfur. Now this isn't the case because we have sulfur, but this is just a play pattern that might be interesting. But also we're locking in ownership of the mineral stuff, which is just generally the best stuff in the game, by building there now. And so this is, like, in terms of long term, this is going to give us more economic power in their country, we think. And so maybe we can pull them into our block easier later as a result of this relationship. We'll try and keep up on that. Also, look at Russia thumbing some pies. Look, they're just like, hey, these two need to be connected, and by connected I mean we need to cut Prussia off from any sort of water access. Look at that, they're just one state away from losing access to the water. So the goal of this run is, of course, the military-industrial complex, and I just wanted to point something out. Look at this cost that we have on goods for military buildings. It was around 45k. Look at it just plummet. And this plummeting is because the armed forces just got happy because we started passing a law that they liked, such that they are getting the newly created army bonus. This is now going in, and so this is kind of some of the power we're looking for. Also wanted to point out that this applies to ships as well. So we are paying less on ships, and so we are going to be a lot more aggressive about expanding boats than we normally are. We have another 50 coming in here. This is going to help us to declare more interest in various areas, which in turn is going to help us to get free stuff through Diploplays. And so I think, why don't we put one in the capital for the US? We'll put one in Canada, so we'll get more sway opportunities on the UK, who is now good enough relations that we can do stuff with. We'll put one in South Germany, just in case something weird happens with Austria. And then probably the next one's going in on Iberia. For example, we would have had an opportunity to get Portugal for free, but we didn't, because we didn't have an interest there. So we're going to continue to push that. We're also pushing the bureaucracy a little bit, and natural spreading to us is Central Archives. Really strong tech for Qing. We haven't been that focused on it. We're going to hit mech workshops. There's a chance we should have just gone Central Archives instead of for this mech workshop, but I think that we're just going to let this nat spread to us because it's good, and we're about to start nat spreading a whole lot faster because we are having an increasing amount of unspent innovation. We got the wee-woos outside, which is a driver of technology spread. You can see that we're getting plus 29 here on this tooltip from unspent innovation, and so we are soft overflowing over our cap. This is why overbuilding on universities is really strong, especially as Qing. I think we have 3 level 31 universities, or we're working towards that, and so what we're going to do is we're going to go for labor movement, which will unlock unlock for us kind of a few more laws that are going to be somewhat reasonable, as well as some ideologies that can roll. I can't remember all the ideologies that can roll. I think Social Democrat's one of them, but we are kind of starved for, ideologies that allow us to pass schools and stuff like this. And we can't do it without the Industrialists, which we still haven't gotten up yet. We've been bolstering them. They've been having a little bit of a time. They kind of were looking like they were going to demarginalize, and then they didn't. So that's a little bit awkward, but hopefully we can get them up, and I think that labor movement might help a little bit, but if not, it'll give us some useful law passes we could do. Another one we could go for is Quinine. We're actually not colonizing at all, and Quinine would allow us to colonize at least somewhat, and so maybe this is actually a little, maybe this is a better look. Actually, I think I like Quinine a little bit better than going for this, just so we can start getting our colonization on. Do something like this, and then go for civilizing mission here. And so I think this is going to be the plan of attack regarding research. So we do get an offer from Spain, which I think is pretty far from becoming a GP. If they come up to 255, they'll become a GP. And so maybe we want to try and increase our leverage on Spain diplomatically through this investment rights. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we're going to give it a go and take a look at what we could do here. And they might even become a GP propped up by our spending, in which case this is kind of okay, and then we bankroll them, and then we just kind of stop building in their country. But there is a little bit of asymmetry. In particular, we know that Navarra has a very nice iron mines throughput bonus, and so let's take a look at Spain, and let's see what companies they have. They have chop companies. That's critical. That is critically important, because now we can come in, and I think that can we do the UI this way? Can we build the chops through here, or does it not like it? Okay, the game doesn't like it too much when we open it, but we can just start spamming chops in their country and actually just lock down all the chops, and we will be getting their construction. Why don't we just lock down all the chops, bro? We lock them down, we pop them, we lock them, we drop them, and now you can't build any chops, and they have a chop company in. So that means we're going to get a massive construction bonus. Now, they have subjects that we can also build in, but I don't think we're going to build downstream. I think we're just going to lock in the chops. The chops have been stolen. And I think on that note, we're going to conclude this episode. This episode, we've done a lot of wheeling and dealing. We've been a little bit less focused on that in regards to kind of getting sways and pushing stuff and reducing autonomy. In particular, we're going for South Africa because we want, or South America, because we want a place that our unemployed pops can escape to. And so as we annex these and as the turmoil comes down, this is going to give us a nice opportunity for this. Also, who owns this? Is that España? No, that's Bolivia. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. But also, we've been kind of messing about with the investment and the ownership quite a bit, talking through some of the things like with France and Belgium and now with Spain. The deal has changed. I think we were on like 250 last we checked ownership buildings, and now we are on 620, so they are coming up at a pretty good rate, getting the capitalists up and coming. But this definitely seems slower than before in regards to the capitalists. But we can see the industrialists, 4.6% clout. They're almost there, and so we could call this a victory for industry and investment, kind of this episode as we've been chugging along. And by chugging, I mean absolutely blasting. The speed of play, which is possible now, is just like, this is so fast for 66. Bro, we are really not used to this level of speed, and so I'm very, very excited for continuing the run, and this is just, oh man, this is so good. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm thing, and have a good day.